Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How are
Hi,
you?
good afternoon. Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. Trying to fix my camera really quick here. It's going sideways. Hello, Mr. Vegas.
Hi there. Good to see you guys.
Good to see you too. How are you?
Great. It's a little eerie doing this all virtual. It reminds me of 2 years ago.
So is everyone virtual today?
Everyone is virtual today.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, you know what, it just facilitated with a lot of different scheduling concerns. So it made it easier for all since we had to live stream it anyway.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad we have that option actually.
Yes. So I think we're still we're scheduled to be a little bit late. I think there's at least one person that said they're going to come late,
Okay.
and but it looks like we're still in need for a few more to have a quorum.
Okay. I'm just gonna go off camera for a second to fix my camera. I think it's angling the wrong way. So I'll be right back, okay?
Okay, Mr. Ortega, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. We hadn't talked since that one time we met.
Yeah, it's been a while.
You doing well?
Yeah. I was trying to remember how to log in here.
That's good. Ms. Watkins, is there anyone else that is not going to be here today?
Yes, I have received a regret from Mr. Cook.
Okay, thank you.
If you have a 7-member committee, you're going to need at least 4 to have a quorum.
You know, we checked with legal on that and we reviewed our bylaws. And so the advice we got was that because we have, there's some openings that the number would be of the current people would be, we have 5, therefore it should be 3 according to our legal counsel.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad you checked because typically what I've heard is that it's based on the number of people you have, but if you've had 5 for quite a long time, then I guess that's the normal then.
That's correct. There's a little bit of that. And so and we do have one bit of business would be the acceptance of someone's resignation. So that, we need to move forward with that. But yes, it's the practice that we've had and the reviewing of the bylaws to identify how specific it's said, and it doesn't have the language was vague enough that our legal counsel said we would be good to go with the 3-member quorum at this time.
That's good to know. That's easier to gain, to accomplish, because that's the difficulty a lot of our clients are having is finding the CBOC members that would attend regularly and and to find
and I think it's it's how the bylaws are worded. So this is certainly not a universal thing.
Yeah, makes sense.
Having said that, even without a quorum, we could still go ahead and have the presentations, perhaps, if that's what the team would want to do, and we would be able to share that with. I mean, it is going to be streamlined, so we would be able to access it.
I think that's a good idea, especially for those members who have made themselves available. I think it's a really good idea to just go over the report. Anyway, they just can't take action. They can't approve the minutes. And I don't think there is any other action they need to take, except for accepting the minutes.
Well,
And the-
there's one more action right now that we have on the agenda, and that would be the acceptance of a resignation.
Yeah, I don't believe that requires an action, but if your legal things, it just, that's fine. But I think the only major action is the bylaws. I mean, not the bylaws, I'm sorry, the acceptance of the minutes.
Well, that's good. That would be good news. And so, so you're saying then that the acceptance of resignation does not require us to have the an action item. We would just accept it.
Exactly. You're basically at this point notifying the
Notifying,
members
okay.
that a member has resigned and that, you're going to be seeking to get new members.
Mhm, which we've already started that process.
Okay, that sounds good. Yeah.
Okay.
So do we only have 2 members right now? Or just 1?
We only have one at this moment, but
Okay.
we did make phone calls this evening, and I think we have one more maybe that may have joined right now. Yes, what Ms. Diaz. So we have 2 in the
Okay.
moment, and we're expecting the other 2 to come in as well.
Okay, that would be great. Perfect. Unfortunately, I'm having some difficulty with my camera right now. I really apologize. It was working fine and all of a sudden,
Sounds like normal technology problems.
yeah, after 3 years, we're still having difficulty, isn't that?
I know. I
interesting?
say that to my office all the time. It's like we've been doing this for 2 to 3 years now. We still can't figure it out.
Yeah, I thought I was getting good at this thing, but it is,
I thought the same thing, but it seems like we always have problems when we get on Zoom.
exactly. Yeah, it's just angling on the side, and that's my problem.
I think in part we were using it daily, several times, and now we, maybe use it sparingly. So
Yeah.
I think that's part of it.
It's like riding a bike. If you don't do it all the time, you're not as good as it used to be when you did it all the time.
The other issue is the fact that we use Teams and Zoom, and there is this confusion between the various apps,
Yep. Yep.
Right.
A little different
Sorry,
with
I was
Teams.
having trouble getting in.
Hi
Yep.
there, Ms. Diaz. How are you? This is Marco Villegas.
Oh,
Nice.
I'm okay, thank you. Now that I got in,
Yes, thank you for joining us. We're really happy that you were able to join us. We're still waiting for 2 more of our members to start the official meeting. Mr. Ortega, you will be chairing the meeting?
Yes.
Great. So I'm wondering if we wait the customary 15 minutes and then maybe we just go ahead and go with the presentations. And like you said, we just can't take any action on any items, and the only action at this moment would be then just looking at the minutes and taking action on the last minutes from August 4th. And
since this wouldn't be an official meeting, then there would be no minutes for this meeting?
that would be
Or-
correct.
That is correct.
And we cannot approve the minutes of last meeting either.
No,
No.
So it's just largely informational. Okay.
Ms. Watkins, does that sound okay with you if we go ahead and go in that direction? Or should we wait a couple more minutes?
Perhaps we could wait just maybe 4 more minutes if the committee will entertain that.
Yes.
That's fine.
Mr. Ortega, were you at the last meeting we had several months ago?
I missed that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Miss Diaz, I think you were there.
Yes, I was.
Okay. All right, I made my camera work.
All right.
Success at last.
Yes. You know what? Sometimes the challenge is there's different security features for each, I think.
Yeah, it was
Client?
just using my laptop camera and I was pointing the wrong way, so I'm good.
Oh, okay.
And Ms.
Nice.
Watkins, it is now at the 4 minutes that we had indicated we were going to provide. So the committee could decide whether to just have the presentation at this point, and if that changes, we could we would still continue with the presentation and such. If other member come on, then we can go to the formal meeting, I suppose.
Okay. Do I need to call this meeting to order, or is that not really necessary because we don't really have?
It's not
No,
necessary because we don't have a quorum.
Right. Okay.
We would just say that statement that there is not a quorum, and we're going to move on with the meeting as just an informational session.
Excellent. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started. Since we don't have a quorum, we will be moving forward as an informational session to update the 2 committee members that are here on the updates that we have. We cannot adopt the agenda or approve the minutes from last time, so we'll have to do that next time. We do have a resignation that was received from John Contreras, so that will need to be addressed, and it sounds like you already have that process underway. Is that my understanding, Mr. Vegas?
It is. So we have already taken in the reservation. We have resignation, and we've also started soliciting applications. And it's my understanding that there's been several people who have submitted applications for that position. And we were under the thought that it needed to be approved by the resignation needed to be approved, but I'm hearing that it doesn't need to be. So that's good news. But we are accepting applications at this time. Ms. Watkins, is that still open? That window still open?
Yes, the window is open until May the 31st.
Okay, excellent.
Do you know how many applicants we've had so far?
We have received 4 applications.
Oh, great. Okay, that sounds good. And Mr. Villegas and the district team too, if you later decide that legally we need to formally accept that resignation, we can obviously do that at the next meeting, but we'll just go ahead and move forward for now. So with that, the next item as far as information would be an update on the bond-funded construction projects.
Yeah. We have put a presentation together and together with Milo. We can, he and I can go over really quick. I can do the financial portion and Milo will provide you with the actual status update, if that's okay with everyone.
Okay.
May I
Sounds good.
share my screen, please?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Are you guys seeing my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so one of the things that we have done since we became part of the district's team is we went back and recreated the entire history of the district's Measure EE, Measure A, whatever was left remaining of that, and Measure ER general obligation bond measures, which means we tracked every penny that was generated and spent from every penny of Measure E and Measure ER and the portion of Measure A that was left over, because that's a much older bond measure. So as you can see, Measure A was approved in 2003 in the amount of 49.5 million. All of the bonds were issued. There was about 8-9 million left over. And then Measure EE was issued, was approved by the voter in 2010 in the amount of 52 million. A small authorization, about 8.3 million, was issued. So we tracked all of those funds as well. And then we summarize what has happened with those, with the funds that were generated from those two bonds. So last time we met, we were in the middle of the full reconciliation going back to 2010. In this meeting, we've completed the full reconciliation. So these were the final numbers for those two bond measures. 23.8 million was generated, of which 23,054,000 has been spent. In this bond measure from the funds that were generated, only 766,000 is remaining as of right now. And this report is as of 4/14/2023. And what we do is we reconcile these funds just like a checkbook you would reconcile with your bank statement. We do this with the bank statements of the district with their financial system. So, so we were able to finish this reconciliation. And so there's only $766,000 remaining. And I'll share with you which projects have been funded with this $23 million that you see here. Measure ER was approved by the voters on November 8 of 2016. It sets forth what it was for, which is for, for the modernization of the El Rancho High School, repairing of the roofs, wiring, electrical, plumbing, security system, fencing, fire safety, air conditioning, all of these types of projects. It's pretty general language, so the district has the discretion to use it for all of the priority projects that it sees fit. Again, this was a $200 million authorization. To date, 3 bond series have been issued in here, 17 million, 75, and Series A in 2017. 20 million was issued in 2019, and 35 million was issued last year. So all of these funds generated equals $72.7 million, of which 20 million has been spent. And as of the date of this report, there was 52.5 million of cash remaining. Any questions about these slides? Please stop me if you have any questions, and unless you want to wait until the end, I'll be happy to answer them. So while these funds are sitting there in the account until they need to be spent, they earn interest, and that interest, and they earn interest at the Los Angeles County Treasurer, and that interest gets added on to the funds and are available for projects. Okay. I'll let Milo go over the
A quick question: is anyone doing a arbitrage calculation on those to make sure that we're not earning more?
Yes, we are monitoring it. We don't prepare the arbitrage rebate, but as you're aware, in the past almost 2 decades, the interest rates have been very, very low. So there is been no arbitrage because the borrowing rates are way above what the district earns with its county. So it's probably about 1% versus the borrowing rate is well over 4% or 3.5%, 4%. So there is no arbitrage at the moment, but since we are tracking all the interest, if we see that there is arbitrage, we will be bringing it to the district's attention and having them set aside funds for that purpose, so they're protected.
Excellent. Okay,
no
thank you.
arbitrage at this time.
I just wanted to check because interest rates are going up, so just wanted to make sure.
Yes, the interest rates are going up, but county treasurer is really behind usually, unless you have some kind of a CD or a long-term investment. Money market rates are typically pretty low,
Right.
but we are going to be watching this. Okay, the locker room project, that's not one of the projects I think that Milo is involved with. So that project has been completed. This was the middle school project, locker rooms. They did, that was completed sometimes at the end of last year, and we have the financials on this report.
I could touch base real quick on that one.
Sure.
We got brought on board to help facilitate closeout of that project. There were some hiccups on getting all the documents submitted, but it did get through, I believe, last month. There was a couple questions that came up from DSA, which Bob, myself, and another individual from our office, actually, Jeff Carter went to DSA with Dave Compton, and they got those rectified. So I'd say within the next couple weeks, that'll be 100% closed out.
Okay.
That's great.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Didn't mean to interrupt, but I just
No
thought I'd
problem.
throw that in there.
Yeah, thank you for sharing this information. And please go ahead, the next project, which is the El Rancho High School pool, which is a project you're currently in the middle of.
Yep. So currently, this one and the next slide that we'll get to is in DSA, Division of State Architects. I don't know how familiar everybody is with it, but there is a major backlog in that office right now. It's taken a little bit longer, but they're anticipating having DSA approval, I believe mid-June is what we calculated last time we met with the architect. What we decided to do as a team here with the district and the architect is we're going to put out the demolition and abatement of both projects. Again, this one and the stadium on the next slide. We're going to put that out to bid here. Actually, we're out to bid, I think, starting this week. So we'll start construction the day after or the day or two after 4th of July, because I know there's a big event at that campus. So as soon as that's over, that's all cleaned up, you'll start to see a bunch of green fence, temporary fence going up that following week. Then the balance of the project will go out to bid and we'll start construction on that roughly beginning to mid-September. So that's kind of what we're tracking right now. This one that we're looking at right here is a pool project. We're going to it's a new pool and a locker room building. We're gonna have new pool deck. We're gonna have a digital scoreboard with LED monitor, new outdoor lighting, new PA system, new parking lot, and then all the ADA and fire alarm upgrades. Again, I already went through where we're at currently with the project itself, and this one's roughly estimated around $20.5 million.
And we will be sharing pictures with you and the status updates as we go along. So in every new report, you'll be getting information regarding where the district is and the pictures of that progress as it starts construction. So the next project is the school stadium and sports fields. Go ahead.
So again, going along with the same timelines I told you guys earlier, saying we're gonna lump the two projects together. So we're gonna, for lack of better terms, better bang for your buck. The more work you have put into a project, the more competitive bids you're going to get. So that's the thinking behind putting them together. Again, the only thing we're going to do is we're going to phase it out. We're going to call it phase 1, demolition and abatement. Phase 2 will be the balance of the project. Excuse me. This one is again replacing the stadium and the stadium field. New baseball, softball, and multi-purpose fields. New stadium bleachers and press boxes, new outdoor lighting, which you can kind of see in that rendering there. New team rooms with storage and lockers, new snack bar, new ticket booth, parking lots, and then again, ADA and all the fire life safety, all that good stuff. Same scenario as far as where it's at with DSA. Both projects, again, they're separate, but they went in, Bob, I don't know if you can hear me, but I'm pretty sure they went in a week or two behind one or the other. So they're neck and neck as far as being submitted and coming out of DSA. Again, timeline wise, the balance of the project will be starting construction beginning to mid-September. And the estimated project budget on this one is about $51.6 million.
Okay. As these projects go on, I think the district is also in the process of retaining a consultant to apply for state grant funding. And we'll be sharing that with you, which is kind of a grant program where the state matches what the district is spending for modernization projects. It's 60% state, 40% district for new construction, and 50% state, 50% district. And we'll be sharing more information so that you know that the district is not just relying on the taxpayers to fund its projects, and it's trying to augment its fund by using other sources.
Right.
We'll
Do you
be
have a
sharing that.
timeline for when that consultant might be brought on board?
So that consultant is actually did some initial preliminary, so that's how we have some data to say what we're eligible for. So that information was shared in terms of what we're eligible for, and we're actually taking her contract to actually go in and do the work at our next board meeting. And so
Okay.
at the next board meeting, she's gone to board once, and that was just for us to get an initial kind of evaluation of what are we eligible for. She's identified several $1 million that we're eligible for, and now we're going to be hiring her to move forward with that. So you could look for that at the next board meeting, May 2nd.
Yeah. And as that information becomes available, we'll be sharing it with you in these reports, the status of it, the dollar amounts, where the district is, and what's going on with the state program. So the next project is the modernization of the 8 elementary school multipurpose rooms. Milo, I'm not sure if you have any information on that. It's my understanding that these projects are in the preliminary basically design, and a district is discussing options and will be going over those options with the board. So they're currently kind of on hold. The time has not been determined yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we've seen and heard of them. We just haven't really seen plans, or hoping to hear some more from the district here soon on that one.
Yeah.
We're
There have been
looking
some
forward to
minor,
starting those.
there have been
So
some
these
minor
aren't
planning
DSA.
expenses. I'm sorry. There are some
These
minor
wouldn't
planning
be-
expenses you will see, but the construction or further processing of these projects is currently on hold as far as I'm aware.
Okay.
Okay. So the purview of the Bond Oversight Committee is to review expenditures to make sure those expenditures are spent on bond-related projects. And for that purpose, we've created these reports in these financial tables to make it really easy for you to see how these funds are being spent. So as you can see here, this is a cumulative summary of all 3 bond measures. We have them separated by the school campus. So you have Bernie Elementary School campus, for example. Since the inception of these bond programs, there were 5 projects. In these projects are considered scopes. And the way these scopes are identified is by these codes that you see in column B here. So for example, the first one was called like a building replacement, the kitchen equipment renovation, science innovation lab, HVAC, and multipurpose room. So as we had gone through the financial report, the coding in the past has not been that great. So you see a lot of expenses that are just in the under district wide. But from this point forward, all the district will have a distinct code, and you will know exactly how much has been spent. So all the expenses are in here, but they may not properly reflect exactly how much was spent at each campus, because that requires going back to records one by one manually to 2011, 12, 13, which may at some point happen. But here you get an indication of, what type of scope was done at each project. So at each school campus. But the newer projects will all be distinctly identified, and you'll see how funds are being spent. So this is how they're separated. You can see how much is spent on each bond measure. For example, here's the El Rancho High School project. Milo just mentioned the 2 major projects, the pool and the sports fields. So you will see how much is spent from each bond measure in expenses and what the total expenses are. And on the right-hand column, column F, you'll see what phase they're in. And in total, so each one of these campuses has those expenditures. So if somebody asks what has been done at each campus, you can see, for example, for North Park, that's just completed, item number 60, there was 2.7 million spent, a combination of Measure EE and Measure ER funds. Same thing with the band building. Again, there was 586,000 spent from Measure A and Measure EE. So we will be making sure that all these projects are clearly broken so you can see what the scope is at each campus. Again, if you look at the bottom line totals here, each campus is listed. And you can see how much is spent on each campus. And this is kind of what I was referring to, like item number 112, 6.6 million, it's undistributed. So this could include expenditures for like a science building or remodel at another campus. It just has not been assigned to that school. But you have a complete accounting of that chart I showed you on page 2 for each bond measure of how much has been spent, 23,054 for measure A and EE and 20.2 million for measure ER. And we have all the financial backup for every single payment. So that is the complete accounting of both bond measures. But what we will be sharing with you for the projects that are currently underway, another requirement of measure of the Prop 39 bond is we will be sharing with you these type of breakdowns of how much is paid to which vendor and for which project. This report is from 7/1/2022 to 4/14/2023. So at your leisure, you can see, you know, architect, the following architect working at this campus, how much has been paid to them during that time period and what it is for. So we try to share with you who got paid, how much it was for, and during the time period, and for which project it was for. So this is kind of like the detailed expenditure backup behind each one of these projects, tying back to the district's financials. And this is basically it. We'll try to not inundate you with a lot of financials at every, you know, cumulative financials at every meeting. We'll try to do a snapshot at a specific period of time from what you've not seen before. I included a lot more in this report since we haven't had a meeting since last year. So I included from July to 4/14. At the next meeting will be 4/14 to whatever time period is for that meeting. Any questions?
Excellent. No, this is really helpful, and I do appreciate the background and going back and, you know, assigning codes properly to each of these projects, because I know that took a lot of work. But these reports over time have just gotten better and better with the detail and the specificity. So that's really appreciated.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Yes, we are working with the district very closely to make sure that any new scope that's created has a number assigned to it, so we can clearly see how much the pool costs, who got paid for the pool, you know, what are the detailed expenditures. It's not only important for you guys to see that when the district applies for state funding, we need to make sure that every single expenditure is identified. They require a compliance report in order to give you the funds. So we want to make sure that it's tracked from the very beginning in a proper way, and all the expenditures are enumerated and itemized and put in the right categories, so that they're recorded. But, you know, be assured that we have at least reconciled and tracked every penny that's been spent in this manner, even though it's not on it may not be distributed to each project accurately.
And that's good that you did this, because in the long run, it will benefit you guys because you already have it. And
Yeah,
when you apply for the grants, you can just cut and paste.
Exactly. And that's what we're going to be working with the consultants on the state side, is for those projects that have already been completed, we're going to share with them the expenditures so they can look into the past expenditures to see if they can find any type of eligibility they can go after. So that part has been done, which we're very happy. Now everything is current. All we're doing is we're constantly updating this information and making sure everything ties back to the district's financials.
Good job.
Okay, thank you. And that's all I have for this report.
Excellent. This is really great information. So thank you for that.
You're very welcome.
I know reconciling takes a lot of time.
Yeah, I mean, the beauty of what we do is we upload the information electronically. So none of this information is manually entered. So the chances of error are non-existent. Our analysts review this and tie everything back. So for example, when I'm sharing with you, for example, on page here in this page, that there's a balance of 766,607 left in the district's books, this ties back to the LA County report that tie back to the county treasurer reports. And it completely mirrors it, except that's a coded system that's very difficult to understand, except for those that are experts and use it every day. And here you can actually clearly see how much interest was earned, what the deposits were, who was paid, how much was paid, which project it was for. So basically, but it ultimately mirrors the financial system. So the credibility is there. In the event there is an IRS audit, in the event there is a state audit, all of that information is clearly tracked.
Right. And then just a quick question. So we issue tax exempt bonds here, and I believe we have 3 years to spend, bonds. And I know the language in the ballot initiatives is broad enough that, a lot of that money could be programmed to different projects, but are we in danger or getting close to any deadlines where we need to spend funds in order to avoid any IRS audits?
That's a very good question. So as you saw the budget, the balances that of how much is going to be spent on the pool, on the stadium projects, all this money is already accounted for. And the district will need to issue additional bonds next year. So definitely, and what the IRS looks at is a reasonable plan to spend the money. If you borrow the money and you have no plan of how to spend it, that's where the problem occurs. But here, if the IRS were to ask a question, we have two clearly large projects that these funds are dedicated for to spend. So that's not a question. And secondarily, as long as there is no positive arbitrage, it's not a problem. Because the minute it becomes positive arbitrage, that's when the issues occur with the IRS. So on both sides, the district is in compliance currently, and will not need to be worried about that part. If that 52 million was sitting in the bank and the district had no idea how to spend it within the next 3 years or 4 years, then that would be a problem.
Okay, excellent.
So
these reports are also IRS defense as well.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's the whole thing, is the tax certificate under these documents require you to track every penny. They require to account for every penny of how you're spending it. So that's a compliance item under the tax certificate of the financial documents.
Just for the committee's awareness, mention of the projects and, starting the demolition and abatement process right after the 4th of July. And so we are planning to have an event, groundbreaking event on July the 6th at 6 p.m. Where we would invite certainly you as honored guests and anyone who's been part of the project to be part of this event as a groundbreaking celebration, to start the work that is going to be happening. And so that's the goal for us to have that at this time. Also, just as you may or may not know, I'm not sure, our CBO actually took a job in Santa Ana Unified School District, and his last day is actually May the 5th. However, he's been ill, for some time now, so he has not returned to work since sometime several weeks ago. So I've been kind of working as the main point person with the construction groups to just we have with our communications to make sure that everything is going forward until we find the next CBO. And so we've identified weekly meetings to stay abreast and in touch as things are shifting. As a matter of fact, I was just looking at the calendar, Milo. We meet tomorrow earlier at 10, it looks like.
Yeah. If that still works for you.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that'd be. If does that still work for you, or do you want to push it out?
No, I think it works for me. I'm really curious. I had a different date for the DSA exit, so maybe you can just double check that before then, and see unless something's changed.
Yeah, I'll update you.
Okay.
Bob and I'll give you an update. Well, there's been extensive meetings last couple of days, so we're going to be okay. I know what the concern is, but we're going to be okay.
Okay.
Okay, and I think that's a great idea to invite the CBOC members to the groundbreaking. This is a report that needs to be shared on the district's website for the community to see. So somebody please take pictures. We would include them in the next report so that when these reports are posted, the community can see that the CBOC is involved and has interest in these projects. And that's usually a very good, positive thing.
Excellent. Well, we look forward to that.
Absolutely.
So, okay, so that I believe completes the presentation for that report, and there are no other informational items that I see on the agenda. I didn't know if there was anything else from the district that you wanted to share.
You know what, I believe, hold on one second. I believe that what it was comprehensive, and things that we would have shared were shared during that presentation. I shared a little bit related to our transition plan. We're actually in the middle of CBO process of recruiting. You know, we've flown the position, and we're also going through interview process right now. So we expect to have a CBO probably at the May 16th meeting to be taken to board for identification is what we're hoping for. So that would, and as well as a facilities project manager position. I'm not sure of the timeline, but it won't be much different than that, either the 16th or the following meeting. And so that will help us be in line. And so I'm, excited about these possibilities and the work that's happening. And frankly, I've enjoyed the opportunity to work closely with this group to be able to stay more abreast of the situation. We will communicate as to see what we can do about creating a meeting and seeing how we can make sure we get a quorum. I think that that's an important part of this. And so, maybe I'll meet on the side with Mr. Ortega and Ms. Diaz, and maybe we can brainstorm some ideas of what are some ways we can make sure. We did call everyone today, and we had one person that said they weren't going to come. So I know things happen. So maybe we could have different ideas as to how to approach this.
Yeah.
If a different time is better,
I
later.
think that doing it in person, we have a better show when we do it in person. More of the members show up.
And we could do that. I think in this time we had, and that would probably be the next thing we should do. This time we had presentations, so they were now going to be able to be in person. So that's one of the reasons that we had made that adjustment. But that's a good idea. So we can do that and maybe provide some dinner or something like that, so everyone can.
Yeah, the other thing too was, last time, I think one of the last meetings that we went to, we did a tour of some of the locker rooms, and now some of the locker rooms are completed. So maybe, scheduling or incorporating, a tour so we can, take pictures and, prepare for annual reports or whatever is needed. That's also helpful too, I think, in getting attendance. And then I think we've just gotten, out of step because there's a lot of moving parts going on. And we haven't been regularly meeting, so it's hard to get back in the groove, I guess.
That's a great idea. I think so. Have you looked at the finished product already? The
No.
tour? No.
No.
Okay, so we can schedule the meeting at one of the sites and have the meeting there, and then tour the facility. As part of the meeting, or a little bit after the meeting, before or after.
That's a good idea.
Okay, that would be great. We'll make sure to do that. Maybe we could do that within the next 2 or 3 weeks, so that we can make that happen soon.
Just a quick based on my experience, the CBOC is supposed to meet minimum once a year, a maximum 4 times a year. So that's typically the case. Usually when the projects are underway, such as yours, they meet quarterly. So if that would be okay with you guys, that's what I have typically seen. And then obviously there's one report to the board on an annual basis that needs to be done from the COC to the board. And that is done once a year, and typically some districts do it in June and some districts do it in December, whatever works best for everyone. So if that gives you an idea of when you want to schedule your next meeting.
I think in this time, since we didn't meet today, we have to certainly, come together and meet. And then I think quarterly is a really good idea at this moment in time. But once we come together.
You're muted.
Sorry, I'm muted, huh? I was just saying, I think that's a great idea. And I think that we could meet quarterly for sure. I was just saying that since we didn't have a quorum today, I think it's incumbent upon us to try to meet soon to make sure we go ahead and accept whatever needs to be accepted. And then at that moment, we can maybe calendar quarterly meetings based on what
Sounds
the
great.
committee.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
And so is there a day for you, Ms. Ortega and Ms. Diaz, is there any days that are better than others?
And if it's in the evening, I don't have a problem.
Okay,
Yeah, the evenings generally work better, and knowing in advance the dates, is always helpful too.
okay. So maybe we could do the same thing, 6 o'clock. We'll look at maybe 3 weeks out on a Thursday.
Okay,
And we could do it in person at maybe North Park. So that we can go ahead and walk through the locker rooms and then we can hopefully get a quorum and calendar the meetings.
May I just say that I will be out of the office from the 11th through the 22nd. It's my son's wedding. And so there is a whole lot going on. If it's during that time, I will not be able to attend. However, we'll be happy to have another colleague attend if that works best for you guys.
I can't give financial updates, but I can give you a status update on the projects.
I can prepare the financial updates. Absolutely. I just won't be able to
No, I know.
to commit to a date during that time period.
Okay.
okay.
Was this meeting was it just a tour of the facility, or were you guys gonna actually have another meeting?
Well, I think that if we have a quorum, we need to
Yeah.
adopt the minutes of the previous meeting
Yeah.
and do the tour.
So, I mean, we could do Tuesday, May 23rd.
That's good for me.
That we don't have a board meeting that night. Do we, Sandy? I don't have it in my calendar. No.
I don't see one on for you guys on that
Yeah.
day.
So then
I think
23rd,
Be out of town on the 23rd.
okay. We could do the 30th then.
The 30th is good.
It's the day after the holiday. We can make sure to call everyone Friday before and then that same day. And we could have a full meeting and hopefully we have that gives some time to get some things, hopefully some things have changed and we have some actual updates.
Okay,
Yeah, that sounds good.
yes.
Okay. So since there is no other items, then maybe, if there's anything that you'd want on the agenda for that, or Ms. Diaz, if there's anything you'd want on the agenda for that date, you could let us know. Okay. Okay, very good.
Okay.
then.
That
It's
sounds
great
good.
great seeing everyone. Even though we didn't have an official meeting, I think, we at least we're caught up on some of the things that are happening. And don't forget that day of July 6th.
Okay, now I have it in the calendar. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. All right.
All right.
Have a great evening, everyone.
Thank you, you too.
Yes.
You too.
Have a great
Thank you
night,
for the
everybody.
report.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.